Hi, my name is Jasmine Solis, and today I'm going to be telling you why you should support the abortion policy. Roughly 121 million unplanned pregnancies occurred between 2015 and 2019. Of these unintended pregnancies, 61% ended in abortion. This means there have been 73 million abortions per year. We all have made decisions that at the moment felt like it wasn't a big deal, but end up having major consequences. All of us here have different views or opinions on what being ready for a family looks like. Some of us can see ourselves having children right now, and others can see ourselves having children within 5 to 10 to 20 years. One thing we all have in common, though, is we all have a set plan, or we all have having the decision on when or even if we want to have children. Sometimes unexpected things happen, and there are major decisions that can be very difficult that you will have to make. Me being a woman and having been through an abortion before, I have done extensive research on the topic, and I really believe this is something that's crucial to women across the world. I've realized that even if you aren't planning on getting an abortion, all women should know at least the basic facts and rules of what an abortion is, the different types, just at least have somewhat of an education on it. Today I'm going to be informing you on the problems, solutions, and practicality of the abortion policy in the United States. The policy was first fought in 1973 in the Roe v. Wade Supreme Court case. Jane Roe was an unmarried pregnant woman who filed for the lawsuit on behalf of herself and others to challenge the Texas abortion laws. A Texas doctor joined Roe's lawsuit, arguing that the state's abortion laws were too vague for doctors to follow. At the time, abortion was illegal in Texas, unless it was done to save a mother's life. It was a crime to get an abortion or even try to attempt one. The result of this case was the right to privacy. It protects women's right to have a say on their bodies and themselves. It also extends to the right to privacy also extends to women having control over their pregnancy. Now I'm going to be stating the rules and the basic facts that you would need to know when getting an abortion. In order to get an abortion under the age of 18, you are not required permission from a parent or guardian. It is required that they let a family member know that it is occurring. Another rule would be when you get the pregnancy, or when you get the abortion. In many states, abortion is an option up to 24 weeks of pregnancy. Some states have the restriction at 20 to 22 weeks of pregnancy. It all depends on the state you live in, whether or not you can even get an abortion. Right now, there are 12 states in the U.S. that have banned abortions altogether. Right now, I'm going to be speaking on the different types of abortions that can be given and the prices of the abortion. I feel like this is very important to the rules and the basic facts that you need to know. There are many different types of abortions, but these are the most common. The first one would be the medical abortion or the abortion pill, which you have to be up to 10 weeks to take. The next would be the suction, which is the most common, which you have to be 6 to 12 weeks to take. After that, the dilation, you have to be 12 to 21 weeks. And then after 21 weeks of pregnancy, depending on the state you live in, the only option you would have is a lethal injection. Now, with all these options, I'm going to explain the cost of each. The cheapest one would be the pill, which ranges from $400 to $800. The suction is from $450 to $900. The dilation is from $600 to $1,000, and the lethal injection is about $2,000. And this all depends on the clinic you go to and whether or not your insurance covers the whole thing. Most of the time, I believe it covers either the whole thing or a big chunk of the abortion itself. Now that we've looked at the rules for the abortion policy, we're going to turn our attention to the problems with the abortion policy. One of the major issues with the abortion policy is what is being argued to this day is late-term abortion. Many are arguing that late-term abortion should be illegal if abortion itself is going to be legal. Late-term abortion is having an abortion after 24 weeks of pregnancy, which is very rare, but it does happen. A lot of the confusion with late-term abortion, with late-term abortion, is the late-term part, because there is another late-term pregnancy, which is different than the late-term abortion, obviously, but that is talking about late-term after 40 weeks 40 weeks of pregnancy, which can be confused a lot of the time together, which is why some people believe that it should be banned, because it is killing the baby, when in fact it is still a fetus after 24 weeks. It is a baby growing, but I feel that it is a little different than what people are confusing it to be. Another major issue is the pro-life activist movement has been trying to get abortion to be illegal in all 50 states. These activists will sometimes hold public demonstrations outside healthcare facilities that provide abortions. The most that has been done about this is the FACE Act of 1994, which makes blocking the entrance of places providing abortions a federal offense. There have been many activist groups that have extremist ways to get the point across. Members of the militant pro-life organization Operation Rescue have been involved in incidents of domestic terrorism. There are many cases where doctors who perform abortions have been murdered by pro-lifers, as they're called. Lastly, one of the, in my opinion, most important problems with the abortion policy is that since some states have bans on abortions or have it illegal altogether, it doesn't mean that abortions aren't happening in that state. It just means that they're happening unsafely, which not only is affecting the fetus, it's now affecting the mother. Every year, some 45 million pregnancies out of 175 million end in abortion. Nearly half of those abortions, which would be 20 million pregnancies, are medically unsafe, resulting in the deaths of nearly 80,000 women a year, and a much larger number suffering from infections, injury, and trauma. Thus, the legality of abortion and the availability of medically safe abortions are public health issues, Diana Brown stated in her article. With abortions being banned in some places, it's not stopping abortions, like I said. It's putting women's lives at risk and killing both the fetus and the mother instead. Women are left to find unsafe ways to get an abortion and risking their own lives because of the injustice bans on abortion. Doctors are also getting arrested and put in jail for performing abortions on women because of certain bans and policies. Now that I've talked about the problems with the abortion policy, I want to turn our attention to solutions. So, a big solution that I believe is that women should be a big solution that I believe should happen with the eligibility of when you can get an abortion should be whenever it is safe. So, depending on how many weeks you are, if it's safe for you to get an abortion and there's a safe and healthy way to do it, then it should be legal. Late term abortion shouldn't be illegal because it's not unsafe for the woman who is getting abortion. Whether she wants to abort the fetus at 9 weeks or at 24, as long as there's a safe and healthy medical way to proceed with the abortion, which there should be no issue. Although late-term abortions are not as common as one would think, most abortions are done before the 20-week mark. But in many cases where women would need to get a late-term abortion, at least there is a legal, safe way to do it. For my second law, which was what we should do about the pro-life activist movement trying to ban the abortion policy in all 50 states and harming patients and doctors for either getting abortions or being a doctor for abortions. I believe that there should be a banner law that women going to get abortions or doctors even performing abortions should be protected under. They should have the right to not be harassed by the choice that they made. Women should not be discriminated against because of the choices that were made with their body, and doctors help all types of people and should not be seen or threatened because of their practice. Lastly, I believe there should be a stricter law on abortion, making it required in all 50 states with no exceptions. Women should not have their lives put at risk because their state isn't supporting something that they still cannot control. Women are getting abortion whether it's legal or not, so they should at least have the chance to have it done safely and effectively without complications to make sure that their lives are healthy and they end up okay after. Now that we have looked at the solutions for the abortion policy, I want to turn our attention to the practicality of the solutions. It's very difficult to keep an understanding of late-term abortion because of how little people know about it. Late-term also, as I said before, refers to late-term pregnancy, which is after 40 weeks, which is making it even more confusing. Some pro-life activists believe that this is hurting the fetus and abortion shouldn't be allowed in the late term because it is formed into a human already, which is why people should which is not necessarily the case, but this is why people should definitely be more educated on the subject and more educated on late-term abortion before they actually have to decide on whether it's come to that time or not. With my solution, I would probably take time to thoroughly explain the late-term abortion before proceeding with procedure and making sure everyone is comfortable and safe with the idea. Since most pro-life activists are seemingly religious and believe abortion is a sin, it would be helpful if they could see some science behind what happens with abortions or heard stories of reasoning behind the decision. On top of this, in order to get the law to protect women and doctors, I would try a petition to get this law in action before taking it up to the federal government. I believe that this should be a federal law that is strict on abortion laws being legal, so I would take it up to the Congress and legislation that can take time, so I'd at least take it to the state or city I live in or you live in to get some support and agreement, starting to help other states to agree. So, kind of getting everyone together and getting everyone to see the point of view that I want them to see, and to see how this is helpful for women, and basically kind of start up a following and a movement as they're doing right now today. Now that we've looked at the practicality of the abortion policy, let's turn our attention to the action. If you believe that the abortion policy should have more rights and be taken seriously, then you should support and donate to the National Abortion Federation, which many of the pro-choice activists are doing, is protesting against the pro-life activists and showing women that during a time of crisis, they're not alone and they don't have to be ashamed of their decision, because a lot of women make the same decision. To conclude, I hope there's been an understanding on how dire this is and how every woman in the U.S. Needs to feel like they're being supported. I have stated the brief history of abortion. I have stated the problems, the solutions, and the practicality, and how you can help take action to this injustice. I hope we can all agree that this policy should not be repealed and should be taken more into action. This generation is filled